Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Every day when we're on the road, people around us endanger themselves and others by using their phones while driving. They think they're hiding it, but we've all seen them and know exactly who they are. For instance, there's a sneak-a-peeker who darts their eyes between the road and their text. There's also the got a ticketer, looking upset because they just got a ticket for using their phone while driving. And what about the fast scroller who can't drive 5 minutes without updating their social media feeds? Or the night lighter who has that mysterious glow illuminating the inside of their car after dark? Do any of these sound familiar? If they remind you of yourself or someone you know, rethink your behavior before you find yourself becoming the fender benderer, the veering off the roader, or worst of all, the driver who killed someone. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
239. We're one way from 240 for you guys that don't know and cannot count. But this is your boy East Coast Trev, and I'm joined by my good buddy Mr. Madman Mardik. What's up, dude? Oh man, another podcast, dude. I'm so pumped. I really am. Like, it's especially talking about turkeys, and this is a good podcast. We're going to take it across the border up into Canada, and we got some really good news to break out here in the intro first off, and this is good, bro. This is good.
Yeah, I'm fired up right now.
Are you really, though?
Really?
Well, you know what? Without further ado, bro, let's talk about it. What are we doing this turkey season? Like, tell the big news. Let's release it here and here only right now.
Oh, we're going with this news first. So, we didn't really get into it in the podcast, but I guess after we got done recording, it became official that I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a New Brunswick non-resident turkey tag.
One of 50.
One of 50.
That's so cool.
Well,
so
I'm border jumping, baby.
So, and I think it's, you know, it's definitely for you. I would imagine it's some type of special feeling for you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in many ways, right? Like, just the trip itself, right? Like, I'm going by myself. So that's an 8-hour road trip crossing the border into another country, solo dolo by myself, and getting into camp, and it's going to be fun, man.
I mean, and especially to go over border by yourself, like for the first time by yourself. I mean, you've been traveling over the border since you were just a young boy and going to camp and bear camp and so on and so forth. But to draw a turkey tag for somebody that 2 years ago, if you asked him about turkey hunting, he was like, I'm not a turkey hunter.
Turkey killer, but not a turkey hunter.
Yeah, right.
So it's actually it's funny you say that. So it just came in the mail today. I ordered a T-shirt. It's a picture of a astronaut. He's standing on Mars, and he's got his shotgun and his turkey over his back. And when I saw that picture, I thought, ain't that the truth, man? If you put turkeys on Mars, we would figure out a way to get there just to kill them.
So true. And it's crazy, especially for you, man, like being one of 50 for the first run of a non-resident tag in New Brunswick. Like, dude, it's probably going to be the next thing in the slam, right? Like, or its own little slam or some type of something where there's going to be a lot of people. It's going to raise some eyebrows for sure.
For sure. And then you throw in the combo hunt, because it's a spring turkey hunt, and they have spring bear.
Right.
So now you open up the door, and you'll find out in the podcast, but for those that don't know, spring bear hunting is an evening hunt. So you can fish. There's plenty of things to do during the day before your nighttime hunting, but this opens up the door for guys to go to New Brunswick and do a turkey hunt in the morning and a bear hunt in the afternoon and go to Canada and kill. I call it the Tim Hortons combo, but yeah, you can do a combo hunt now.
Well, it's crazy because, like, bear hunting in itself, you don't really do much in the day. It's a late night. You hang out with the boys, drink some beers, eat some good food, tell stories, joke, laugh, funny. Guys come into camp 9, 10 o'clock with bears by the time you get off stand, so on and so forth. So to kind of break up the monotony in the morning, you're waiting until 3, 4 o'clock to get on stand again. So like it's a long morning. And if you can, if you're going to do that full grind, and go and turkey hunt first, and then get in the bear blind. I mean, it's pretty cool, dude. It's definitely awesome.
For sure. So to put the pieces together, because I'm sure there's some listeners that are listening and they're like, what's going on here? So I had already booked my bear hunt for June. I didn't know anything about this turkey hunt at the time. So when I first saw Brian had made a post about a non-resident turkey draw, I was like, whoa, what is this? Why didn't I know about this? When did I have to have my application in? And he said, no, it wasn't for non-residents to apply. It was for the outfitters to apply to get tagged, So did a little bit more research. It's a mid-May hunt. My bear hunt's in June. So I can't do the combo hunt and kill both in one trip. So it took a couple of weeks of working up the kinks and the logistics and how it was going to work out. So we finally figured out I'm going to drive to Canada. I'm going to kill my bird. I'm going to come home and then turn around 2 weeks later, go back for the bear hunt.
That's awesome, dude. New Brunswick slam, dude, in one season. This is going to be cool. I'm excited to follow along with everything. Mardik is actually going to bring up his podcast recording. Hopefully maybe do, maybe we'll do a little mini series of some sort. Maybe you record a little podcast on the ride up or whatever, or maybe with Brian in camp or guide or whatever the case may be, kind of tell that story. And then, bear camp comes around, and it's always good to have a microphone in bear camp and kind of tell the stories and kind of paint the pictures because, bear camp is a special place. And if you haven't been bear hunting, it's something to definitely look into and kind of, it's just something fun. It's something different to break up the monotony, and one of the things with spring bear hunting where when you had asked me, you're like, dude, you want to go spring bear hunting? And I'm like, dude, it's like right around turkey season. Like we're still killing turkeys in bear season, dude. Like, I don't know, especially spring bear season.
Yeah. Well, bear hunting's like very near and dear to my heart because, my dad's been going, I think since 89 or 90.
Wow. 33 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's missed a couple of years here and there, but I mean, he's pretty consistent. And I was fortunate enough at a young age that he would take me with him for camp. I was way too young to hunt, but I got to ride around with the guides all night and put guys on stand. And I'm like, I'm 10 years old.
The story of him asking your mom if you could go with him bear hunt is probably one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, and then she made Dad go to the school and ask the teacher, and wasn't really sure how that was going to go. I'm gonna take Steven out of school for a week. I'm gonna take him to Canada to go bear hunting. But yeah, I mean, he took me every year, and then you had to be 18 to kill a bear. So the year I turned 18, I went and killed my first bear. So
New Brunswick's 18?
Yeah.
Wow.
As far as I know, I mean, maybe he just made me wait till I was 18. I don't know, but
that's not right. That's straight prison.
When I was 18, and then I was with the rifle, and then a couple years later, I went back-to-back years and killed one each year with my bow. But I haven't been since 2012, and like I said, this going to bear camp was a big part of my childhood. So I've been really excited about finally getting back to bear camp after a long stint off, and then somehow that morphed into a turkey hunt and a bear hunt in one spring, and I'm really excited.
So you're going to be doing your turkey dance over the border, bub.
That's right.
That's exciting. Super exciting. I can't wait for that, man. So congratulations on that, bro. I can't wait to see the story and the film and so on and so forth, dude. It's exciting to think about. It really is, dude. I can't wait to live vicariously through you as this goes on.
The other cool thing too about it is like, as you start traveling for turkeys, you get into like different types of timber, different terrain. Turkey's a turkey, but where that turkey is a little different. So the last week or so, I've been talking to Kenny, who's Nobody up there is really big turkey hunters because the province as itself has only had a turkey season for 4 years.
Right. Yeah, that's what
So
Brian said.
all of those guys are kind of learning as they go as now turkey hunters, so Kenny's a turkey guy, so I've been talking to Kenny a little bit, and he's been showing me some aerial photos, and I'm trying to get a feel for like what I'm getting myself into. But
And you're
I think
self-guiding more or less.
yeah, I mean Kenny's gonna be with me, and we're gonna work together and figure it out. But I think we'll get on birds. I don't think it's gonna be a problem at all. But that's, to me, turkey hunting is really, it's problem solving.
Right.
Find birds, find how to get to the birds, and from there it's just calling, right? So we'll figure it out. We're gonna have some fun and make some stories.
Cool, man. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm super excited for you, and hopefully got some good footage when you come home, or at least a good story to tell. So that'll be kind of cool, and hopefully bring the mic and tell the stories as it goes.
Confiscate my cameras at the border. We'll be all right.
Who knows? It's always a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of open-ended questions when it comes to going over the border, I'd imagine. So
That's right.
Well, let's get through the sponsors because the list have gotten a little bit bigger. We kind of partnered up with a couple new people here and new things for 2024 here at the Outdoor Drive. We kind of got to spice things up, change things up as we always do throughout the years, and we're proud to make the family just a little bit bigger, and some good ones too. We actually got down. First off, the official bow of the Outdoor Drive podcast is Bowtech. We've been working with Bowtech since ATA. This year we got to work with Northeast Bowtech, Caleb, and we actually signed a deal with those guys. We went down to Hall's Archery here in Manchester, Connecticut this past week, and we started tearing through their bow line to pick out our perfect bow. I have not finished my voyage yet. Steve did finish his. He has decided on the Core SS. We took the Core SS, the Core SR, and the Carbon 1 side by side shooting them. They did not have the Carbon X. So I kind of landed my plane in the Carbon world. So I'm actually going to shoot the Carbon X against the Carbon X1, which is new for this year, this coming weekend. But Steve was a hard strike for Steve actually with the SS next to the SR. It's a speed bow, the SR, and the SS. So it was fun. It was fun problem solving through it and finding that perfect bow. And as we always say to you, like, go to your bow shop, shoot every bow they have. Like, don't let our brand that we like or we want to shoot, finish it for you. Go and shoot them and let them talk to you, honestly. But we're proud to have the official bow of the Outdoor Drive is Bowtech. So we're going to shoot those guys. Refuse to follow. So we'll see, and we'll let you in on that. We're going to have some YouTubes on that, kind of the breakdown and what we're going to use. We did go with black and gold sights, tight spot, quivers, and center mass stabilizers with the ripcord bow rest. So we're super excited for those guys. Check those guys out over at bowtech.com. You can go and check all those guys out, and we'll let you know and kind of feed you through as we kind of unveil and pull back the sheets on that kind of stuff. So we're super excited to work with those guys. As always, the official camo of the Outdoor Drive is Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. And in all of this, I'm going to say this is we don't use anything that we don't believe in. We don't just sign a deal with somebody to sign a deal and partner with them. Like, we believe in them. Huntworth, we've hunted with them. This is season number 3, and we have put it through its test. You guys know we're rugged on all of our gear, and this stuff is held up to the max. Their early season Durham pants, Shelton hoodies, hands down some of the best when it comes to turkey hunting, running through the briars. So go and check those guys out, huntworthgear.com. The next one that we actually partnered with is Fourth Arrow Camera Arms. We are excited to be using their tripods this year for turkey hunting season. Very versatile. Steve has had one for a little bit now. Maybe you can touch base on it, kind of one of the things that maybe you use and why you use the Fourth Arrow Camera Arm.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stuck out to me I'm a minimalist, man. I try to, as you start filming and stuff, you start adding shit to just stuff you have to carry, right? Like extra batteries and cameras and GoPros and tripods and this and that and the other thing. And the thing that stuck out to me about the Fourth Arrow tripod is, man, it's small and it's light and it's going to be easy to run. You know, the way we turkey hunt, we're running and gunning, we're pounding public, we're in and out of the truck. Who knows how many miles we put on in a day during early turkey season. So, you know, that was the main thing for me, is just something small, lightweight, compact, not going to be too cumbersome running through the woods. And it came in camo, which is always a plus, because I am so sick and tired of trying to spray paint tripods and the paint scrapes off every time you take the legs in and out, or trying to tape them up. And then when you put tape on them, then the legs, you can't put the legs back in. So it came in camo. It was small, lightweight, done. Let's go.
Yep, absolutely. So go and check those guys off over at Fourth Arrow Camera Arms. Latitude Outdoors, latitudeoutdoors.com, guys, for all of your mobile hunting needs. A little bit cool stuff coming from those guys this year with the bow hangers and some really other cool new products coming out. Their knee pads, hands down, changing those. There's a lot of big changes for those guys, so go and check those guys out, latitudeoutdoors.com. Now's the time to be building your climb and getting ready for that deer season. It's right around the corner, guys. It's very important. If you guys are going to go mobile, start shooting out of your saddle, climbing with your saddle. We live by the Carbon SS sticks, guys. I mean, I hunt hard out of them. I'm a big boy, and there's no problems, I promise you. Latitude Outdoors is definitely where it needs to be. Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Get them in close. All of your turkey calls, your locating calls, everything that you can possibly think of over at nor'eastergamecalls.com, hand turned and tuned by yours truly, Mark Buzzle. So go and check those guys out, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Last but not least, it is turkey season. If the saddies are flying, the turkeys are dying, and that is the truth. Saddies Ammo LLC. You can find them on all social media platforms underneath Saddies. So definitely.
I just got a hold of Aaron the other day when I found out about the Canada trip.
Because they can only shoot 7.5, right?
No, you can only shoot 7s.
Ooh.
You can shoot 7.5s in Connecticut. So I'm loaded up with 7.5s. So I called up Aaron. I said, hey, I need another box. I need straight 7s because I'm not crossing the border with nothing illegal. We're not going to push it.
Not the half. No, don't push the half.
I need some Canadian specials, 2 3/4 inch 20 gauge number 7s on the dot. And I said, because, as you know, Aaron writes on every single shell the specs on each cell. I said, right. So if you want, they're for Canada, so you can write a little note on the side, to Canada, courtesy of the red, white, and blue, or something like that. So we'll see if he does it. My saddies cool. might look like little fortune cookies.
So they're like, to be honest, it might be the first Canadian bird ever shot in the face with a saddie, dude. So that's
probably, there's a pretty good chance of that for sure. For sure.
So that's exciting, dude. Super cool. Super cool.
Saddies is going international.
International. Be the first international bird ever shot with a saddies right in the face. We will stop the flop. Use the saddies. But yeah, let's break right in the podcast, man. Let's get Brian Williams on. Big news here. Big things changing, guys. Go and check us out, outdoordrive.com. And you can always follow along every Thursday night and possibly Friday night on Facebook Live or YouTube. We are actually streaming live now. You guys will hear us talking about live things. We are live now on social media platforms, Facebook and on YouTube. So go and check us out. Hit the subscribe button. Turkey hunting season's right around the corner. We got some turkey videos coming to you guys on our YouTube page. Make sure to hit the subscribe button there, notification button, so you don't miss out on anything. We talk about a lot of good stuff, so make sure to go and hit the subscribe button. Follow us on all social media platforms, and a 5-star review can't hurt us neither. And tell a friend about us. We'd really appreciate it. We do this because we love it. So let's get Brian Williams on the line here, and let's get this podcast underway. All right, guys, we're back up in action, live as it comes here on the Outdoor Drive podcast, and we're joined with Brian Williams from Williams Woods and Water Outfitters in New Brunswick, Canada. Steve, are you proud of me? I did it.
Almost messed it up, but You got it out.
I did. I
A
stumbled
lot of
on it.
W's.
Yeah, I know. You know, it's great. I love it though. It's good stuff. But Brian, let's turn this thing right into 4-wheel drive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. So I'm located central New Brunswick and outside of Fredericton. Our outfit and lodge is on Robin Hood Lake, which is down the southern part of the province, about an hour south of Fredericton. So we were established in 2017. Originally started just doing spring bear, multi-species fishing, and moose, and now we're evolving into doing all of that, and then plus turkey. So we're getting into some new territory here in New Brunswick. So we looking forward to talking about that today.
That's awesome, man. So where did it all start from you? Are you generations? Did it come natural, and your family had done this before you, or you just kind of jumped in head first, hands back, and just kind of loaded down into it?
Yeah, before 17, I did a little guiding, just friends, family, that sort of thing. Grew up on the water, in the woods, fishing and hunting, and it hasn't been passed down to me. Everything that I've done so far it's been built from the ground up by me. My lodge is built on family property. We own 360 acres of private ground on Robin Hood Lake. So, when I wanted to get into this, cleared the lot, milled the trees, built the lodge, and started going from there.
So on a normal hunting base, like how many guys do you hold, say, bear camp? Like how many lodges do you have, beds, so on and so forth, to kind of paint the picture for us?
Yeah, we're up to 12 beds now. So we have the main lodge, a couple bunkhouses, and then we're having a couple extra camps kicking around the lakes. We're in a chain of lakes there at Robin Hood. So we're putting up a few more camps here and there, just to be able to hold more guys or girls.
That's awesome, man. And one of the things that kind of, is a little bit different than what we kind of do here in the States is you guys have a spring bear season, which we don't have. We do the fall bear season. What's the difference in between the spring bear and the fall bear?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the beauties about New Brunswick, is being able to offer both, right? And the spring season it basically starts here in a couple weeks, in the middle of April, and runs till the third week of June. They're actually talking about extending it to the final week of June this year. Hopefully that goes through, because that June month is the rut of the black bear, right? So you get the rut activity, the rut hunts in the spring, and you get the size and, I guess, the fattened up bears in the fall. And it coincides with a little bit of a moose hunting and deer hunting and upland in the fall, right? So you kind of have all them options. In the spring, it's nice because there's not much going on other than fishing. So you get that spring bear option, and now with the turkey hunting that has just been going on for the last 4 years, we're starting to have quite a bit of different types of packages you can put together here. So.
That's really cool. And what is the licensing? Like how hard is it to get a license? Is it over the counter? Is it pretty easy to kind of get the prices on that stuff for non-resident?
For bear, it's so there's several ways you can get a license. Outfitters and guide services, a lot of them have an allocation of tags that renews every 3 years. So there's that way you can go directly through an outfitter or guide with one of their allocated tags. You can enter through a draw that happens in February, and that draw just ended up closing a couple weeks ago. So you can put in for a non-resident bear there, and then what happens once that draws over, any of the allocated tags in the draw in certain zones of the province that are left over kind of go over the counter type deal.
That's awesome.
Can you have to have an outfitter though? If you draw a non-resident, you can't DIY it, right?
No, you still have to hire a guide.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to go through an outfitter per se. If you draw a tag through the draw, you can just hire a guide. Like there's two types of guides in New Brunswick. There's guide 1 and guide 2. And guide 1 is basically a guide that can take someone hunting and charge money for it. You can't participate, in the hunt. Guide 2 is like a license to a company.
Right.
Is it like main guide service, right? Like it's a pretty extensive class. Like it's pretty much a college course. Is that the same for it is in Canada for you guys?
I wouldn't say in New Brunswick. No, it's I'll say we're a little bit behind the times in that sense. Right now you go to become a guide, you go and you study the hunt and trap book, the fishing regulations, and how to become a guide in New Brunswick, and you write a test. It's not as extensive as Maine, like the Master Guide and things like that, but our Outfitters and Guides Association that I'm a part of, United Guides and Outfitters Association of New Brunswick, UGO-MB. So we're actually right in the mix now of developing higher standards and building a guide training program that we're going to implement here in the province and kind of up the standard for guides and outfitters.
So you're
Is
actually
that
go ahead, Stevie.
I was going to ask you, is that what is it, United Guides and Outfitters in New Brunswick? Is that a newer thing? Because I hadn't really heard about it until I met you. So how long has that been around?
Yeah, so it's been going on for about a year now.
Okay.
We just rolled over, I guess, a year anniversary of an existence. Yeah.
And you play a pretty big part in that, don't you?
Yeah, I'm the president of the association. Yeah.
Cool.
It's
Yeah,
got
so
that's
we've got about 50 outfitters as members, 100 plus guides, and then so there's different levels of membership, and then we have some associate members too, like the cook staff and anyone that wants to really just be involved in the industry. There's different benefits of levels of membership. So getting newsletters and deals on insurance and those types of things. So depending on where you're at in the levels, it's different benefits.
is the province itself pretty good to the outfitters, like as far as like if you start to bring more customers in or so, they kind of feed back on it?
Just, I will say that within the last couple of years, the province is really stepping up its game. I think it's just gone a little bit by the wayside, the hunt fish sector, with tourism and things like that. But over the last couple of years, they've really started paying attention to it, and really assisting us and putting New Brunswick on the map, I'll say, which is huge. And our association has already been recognized as the voice of the industry for both DNR and tourism. So them helping us advertise what New Brunswick has to offer and going on the world stage is that's what's going on in the next year. And so I think you're just going to start hearing more and more about us.
And I think it's kind of important, honestly, too, because there's a lot of people that are in the States that like to do travel hunts, and a lot of them don't realize what it is or what the resources are to be able to go somewhere. I mean, to go over state lines. I mean, even with a firearm or whatever the case may be, like it's kind of an overwhelming process. And what is actually available to them, because the hunting resources in Canada are incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll speak right across the country. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But in New Brunswick itself is a real hidden gem. A lot of people don't even know where we are, from the States especially, right? And New Brunswick, for big game, for black bear, for moose, for whitetail, all the multi-species of fish here. The upland in the waterfowl hunting is incredible. You've got all kinds of options here, and it's just not exposed yet. And that's kind of the motive of our association, is to do that.
Yeah, and the moose hunting, that's on a draw, right? Or a non-resident draw?
Yeah, so there's two ways to obtain a moose tag as well. One being the province has a draw for outfitters, so we don't have an allocation of moose tags. So we're very, very fortunate and lucky to get one, as a legitimate outfitting business. And then there's a non-resident draw on top of that with a separate pool of tags, and that's the only two ways to get a moose license. And there's not a lot of them.
Is it like I'm sorry that I keep going back to Maine, but I think it's like the most kind of like in our world, right? Where like Maine moose hunting in itself is like, it's almost a once in a lifetime tag, where some guys will put in for that allocation for 30 years and never draw. Or they might draw the first time, but they'll never draw again. But like, is New Brunswick in that same terms when it comes to non-resident?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I guess the residents here are in the same boat, but we have a pool system where 0 to 4 years you get one ballot in the draw, and then 5 to 10 or whatever, it triples up until 20 years, where basically if you haven't drawn a tag in 20 years, you have like a 94 to 97% chance of drawing a tag that and beyond that. So there's people that have gone 20 plus years in the province, and not got a license as residents.
Mm.
So non-residents, that draw that they have isn't a pool system. So you don't get credits every year that you apply. So you just might get lucky sometime, you know. And to be honest with you, they only have, I think, sometimes between 25 and 40 non-resident moose licenses through that draw every year. And I'd probably take a guess that there's anywhere from 9 to 15,000 people that probably apply for those few tags, right? So it's quite special.
And
And yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, please.
No, I was just gonna say, I'll vouch for New Brunswick. The moose hunting here is some of the best in the world for sure.
And that's what I was going to ask you is like what is like the standard when it comes to taking a trophy moose up there? Like what are some of the guides trying to shoot for, and obviously with it being the way that it is, what are you guys trying to accomplish in shooting a trophy moose?
Yeah. So another thing about the moose season in New Brunswick is it's 5 days, and that's it. And so it's a huge event for both residents and outfitters and guides for being a Tuesday to Saturday hunt. You got 5 days to get this done, and potentially that's your only tag for 20 years, right? So there's a lot of pressure, very weather dependent, and it always falls on the last full week of September, but not overlapping into October because of upland and waterfowl season starting on October 1st in legislation. So it doesn't overlap. So it just the season varies a little bit from that September 18th, 19th up to the 30th, somewhere's in there. But it does land right in the rut activity of the moose. So if you get the weather, you can have some pretty exciting calling a moose and having that experience. But it is a pressure hunt for sure. It's 5 days.
That's crazy. I mean, but it's a good thing though, right? Because you kind of get it done and over with. The population is staying sustainable. You have the 5 days, you get it done. And one of the things you just said, Tuesday through Saturday, like you're doing it during the week. So like it's down to business. Like the guys that are doing it for the right reasons. And like obviously they're trying to take, a caliber of moose, a higher caliber, mature caliber of moose before they're taking just any old moose, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah, the nice thing about the moose tag when you do draw, it's any sex or whatever, right?
Okay.
Calf cow or bull. I guess myself personally, I challenge myself every year to try and beat the one that I got last. And I go for the wide, the inches on the rack and things like that. It doesn't always work out, but you're looking at an average adult bull in New Brunswick. You can get high 40s as pretty common, and then once you get into the 50s, and you can even get up to the 60 to 65 inch bulls, and they're monsters, right? They weigh 1,000+ pounds, so it's that's what we go for. I guess we don't shoot cows, but you can.
I imagine it's just like any other 5-day hunt, especially weather dependent, right? Everybody wants a 50 or 60 inch bull on Monday and Tuesday, but once you get through Wednesday or Thursday, you start getting a little less selective.
The standards drop. Yeah, the standards drop.
And are you starting to see that decline in population over other problems with the moose herd like we're starting to see in the States?
I would say that the moose population here is doing very well.
Okay.
And from I'll say central province northern part of the province, amazing. Central part of the province, really, really good. That's where we kind of moose hunt. And then the southern part of the province, I would say, I would have to say there's a little bit of a decline due to ticks.
Okay, so you are seeing that tick problem
Yeah.
that we're starting
Yeah.
to see here, or we
Yeah.
have seen for the past couple of years.
So like zone 20 where my lodge is used to be, we're talking years and years and years ago, one of the best zones for moose hunting in the province, way back in the day. And then now it's pretty scarce. I've had to move north to moose hunt. I mean, there's still moose there. They're just in pockets. And so you just have to kind of move with it. You move a little bit further north and you don't have that tick problem.
And that's one of the things that we see here in the northern part of Maine. I do a ton of shed hunting there with the dog, and like you see a dead moose there, and you go over to it, and the ground is literally walking. Like the moose, you would think that the moose is like teleporting off of the ground because of the ticks that are around. It's like the creepiest, crawliest, nastiest thing you've ever seen. And there's millions and millions of ticks just covering the dead carcasses of these moose. And it's like it's the wildest thing you've ever seen. And they're literally, especially on bad days, like bad years, they're killing, with it not having as much snow. Some of the small ones, they're dead right there, and it's really putting a big hurt on them.
Yep. Yeah, and you want to shed hunt in the winter for moose in the south. You look for the tracks and things like that, but you're finding blood in the snow. And my one of my guides is a big shed hunter, and he finds beds and things like that. There's just blood in the snow, and then you'll end up finding a dead calf or something like that have just been ticked to death, I guess.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. I want to break into this whole turkey hunting thing. Obviously, turkey season is strong upon us here, and so kind of take us through the start of this whole turkey hunting in New Brunswick, because it wasn't all that long ago. How did they rebuild the population to get where it is today, and then kind of where is it standing as it is?
Yeah, so I guess the turkeys have been in the province, jumped the border for 20 years ago, and
they have their passport.
Yeah. I guess originally people probably thought that they couldn't fly across the St. Croix River, but they made their way, and we're sitting right next to Maine. They've gone right on, crossed over into St. Stephen, New Brunswick, and kind of spread from there. We have several zones in the province. I know the CWTF, the Canadian Wildlife Turkey Federation, has done a lot of work in getting this going. They've spent a lot of years working with the province to try and get a turkey hunt here. And just 4 years ago, it happened with residents. And, it started, I think, with 150 tags, something like that. So at the time, I think they only estimated the bird population to be about 1,000, which I think they were off. But anyways, and then as you fast forward a little bit, we're in the 4th year now, and they're up to 550 resident tags. And this is the first year that they offered a draw for outfitters and guide services to apply for 50. They put 50 tags in a pool, and so that just happened. So this is the first year for a non-resident turkey hunt. In the zones, that there is birds, there's a lot of them, and they're spreading pretty good.
Do you have a lot of ground predators?
A lot of coyotes.
Coyotes?
Yep,
okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Any type pine martens, bobcats, stuff like that too?
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of cats. There's a lot of cats. There's marten too. Yeah, fishers.
Yep.
That sort of thing. We have everything.
Yeah, and it's just, and the reason I asked this is one of the things in talking with, we had Michael Chamberlain, which is actually the University of Georgia's biologist, and he's a turkey biologist actually, and we were talking about ground nesting birds and then ground predators and how they've kind of taken a toll on it, and then the people that are hunting here and kind of knocking down the population. And the reason I asked this is if you have a lot of predators, but then you still have a growing population, like where is the balance here? So it seems like, and if it's anything like the northern part of the states, I mean, there's a ton of predators that can take down the number, but you guys still have a growing population of turkeys.
Yeah, and I guess it'd be interesting to watch what the effect is on it. I just started paying attention to turkeys over the last couple of years myself, and I think like the trapping industry and stuff itself is kind of like a dying trade as well. So it'd be interesting to see what the correlation is between the predator population and the turkeys and the grouse, and that sort of thing. Last year was one of the worst years I've ever seen for grouse. I don't know what the cause was. I'm not going to make any assumptions,
right?
But it was one of the worst I've ever seen. And everyone that I've talked to, we're pretty well known for grouse hunting up here. And there's people that say I only seen 2 or 3 birds all season. When people are sometimes shooting 60 to 100.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened. We had a really wet spring last year, and it was cold, and so it could have had a pretty bad effect on them. It'd be interesting. This year was one of the mildest winters I've ever seen in my lifetime in New Brunswick. Being in March and seeing grass and lawns and things like that, and no snow in the woods, even in my part of the province, is just unheard of.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if the grouse pop back.
All right, I got a question about that though. Tell me about the mild winter and spring bear hunt.
Yep.
Does that affect anything? Is it good thing, bad thing, or
Steve,
doesn't matter?
Steve's trying to paint the picture, so when he's sitting in the bear stand, he's self-serving over here.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's a good question, and I don't see it having any effect on it really, because as far as food goes, there's still nothing's green.
Yeah.
They're gonna, on these warm days and stuff, they're gonna get up and walk around. But the typical, like, I'm not gonna call it hibernation, but denning period for a bear is, November to April. And there's obviously some fluctuations in there, but I wouldn't bother putting a bait site out now, even though I can get in the woods. I don't have any bear hunters showing up here till May 19th. What's the point? There's nothing. Until the bears start moving and eating green grass and drinking lots of water and getting their guts rolling again for the year. I don't see it having any effect on the, as far as it's not going to knock the rut back into May or even earlier than that or anything like that. I don't think so anyway.
And you struck the chord kind of, because when you're spring bear hunting, my understanding is it's a rut thing. So like them bears are still going to come in, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're putting the bait out there, the other bears are coming there, and then them big boars are kind of searching from bait site to bait site to bait site, kind of like a buck going from feed to feed to feed, checking out them does. So you're really not going to hurt anything, and it's not like the fall bear season where if there was a lot of berries, then they're not going to come out to those bait sites, but you don't have to worry about that in the spring season.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's a lot to bear baiting, and I've had bears on baits, in April, at the end of April. I could probably, put somebody on bear at the end of April, the first week of May. I just choose not to start hunting till the last 2 weeks of May and into June because of the excitement of it. And, I guess in May, I always consider it, it's a numbers game. You got a lot of bears going and starting to really feed heavily. There's no competition for natural food in the woods, so they're coming to the baits. And so you're basically just watching one go by and waiting for the next one. And in June, when, what I tell hunters hunting with me in June is all bets are off. I don't know what the schedule is going to be. The smaller bears and they're still going to be at the baits, and then all of a sudden you're going to see something walk through that seems to be hiding under that log over there for all season, just decide to pop out. Those big boars just come out of nowhere in June. So that's the thrill of hunting in June. You still get the numbers of bears, but then you get them big roamers that you haven't seen all season, or just ones that have shown up, and that's what's fun about the rut hunt.
That's so crazy. I've never hunted June before,
Yep.
and we always hunted last week of May, and I never thought of it as a kid, just when we hunted, I just thought it was all the same. But now thinking about it, knowing what I know now, it seemed like we always heard about a giant getting killed a week or two after we left.
Yeah.
And I didn't draw the correlation, but now that I think about it, I'm like, damn, that sucker was out there somewhere, and he just rolled in for the rut.
Yep. Yeah, like we've killed, like, honestly, we've killed our biggest bears in June. But we've killed big bears in May, but it's always been the ones that we know we can almost give them a name, right? It's the
probably
ones
similar to like whitetail hunting, right?
Yeah.
You can get that early season big buck on a food plot. He's coming in every night like clockwork, or that November rut. He could come from 5 miles away and he just shows up that night.
Yeah, and they just start coming out in daylight and just doing their thing, right? So.
Is that when it's the rut like that, like two boars getting into a bait site, that's where you start to see those big fights on bait sites and like the craziness just come unveiled?
Yeah, I'd say, you start seeing that chasing activity and stuff going on earlier than that. The very first of June, late May, you'll start seeing them chase each other around. By second week of June into later June, they've kind of established themselves, and you'll hear a lot of vocalization and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the chasing and the fights is a lot of younger ones just trying to figure it out. The bigger guys just know when to show up, and they don't have to do anything other than waddle in, and everyone else just scatters.
That's nuts. Do you have a lot of color phases in the area where you're at, or is it all just a lot of blacks with white patch here and there kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd say, as far as cinnamon and chocolate, extremely rare to non-existent. We've I could probably pull a trail cam pick of one in all of my years doing this, and there's some other people that have had a couple, on their baits and things like that. But it's so rare. I would never advertise or anything saying, "Come here, you have a chance at color phase." Not happening.
Right.
It's but as far as, big blacks and big nice white patches on the chest, we have a pile of those.
That's crazy. It's just not. It's all I guess area wise, right? Because like Alberta and that, sometimes some of those pockets will have a ton of color phase or changes in them. Like they'll have 5 or 6 different bears. Some of them blonde, some of them cinnamon. It's just luck of the draw and genetics at that point, right?
Yeah, if you're looking for a color phase bear, if anyone asked me, I'd say go west.
Yeah.
Go west. But if you're looking for numbers and excitement, I'd say New Brunswick. I put New Brunswick bear hunting right up there with anybody as far as seeing the number of bears and getting that rut activity in the spring and things like that. I would challenge New Brunswick to anything.
Well, you sent me a map a couple weeks ago of the population density. I don't remember if it was all of Canada or just New Brunswick, but you're like the epicenter of the highest concentration of bears per square mile.
Yep.
There is in Canada, no?
Yep, it is. New Brunswick is. Yep.
That's nuts. That's so cool to be there. So like on your feeding schedule, like how do you go about, like the season's about to start for you, so how do you start to get into the season, and then as the season goes, when it does get into your baiting?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much getting ready now to start. I kind of told the boys, think about April 13th to the 15th, in that area, that we're probably going to start putting some baits out in the south. That's the nice thing about where my lodge is in the southern part of the province. We lose the snow a lot earlier than the central and the northern part of the province. So you kind of tend to, be able to get things done earlier and have, get some bear activity a little bit sooner, a week or two sooner. And so we're planning on starting around then. We use a lot of beaver to get things kicked off. And then once we get the bears on the baits, we have 50-50 mix of corn and oats rolled in molasses, and we use a lot of pie filling, blueberries jam, raspberry jam, and frosting, and a lot of donuts, and a little bit of popcorn and trail mix. That's kind of, we kind of throw everything at them, because we find that once they start eating, bears, they're going for what they need. They got to build fat from when they start eating in the spring to when they go back to lay down in the fall. That they got one thing on their mind. It's eating and repopulating. And so we just try and throw a little bit of everything at them, because some bears will choose one type of bait over the other. And if you got a variety at your bait site, I think you're more apt to get more activity and have numbers of bears there.
So I've heard a lot of mixed reviews when it comes to like the beaver thing, and it's not a bad or a good. One of the things I've heard is that the bears become very aggressive when they're on that meat for some reason, and like they kind of get a little bit crazier than they do when they're on like the oats or the trail mix or that kind of thing. Do you see the same, where they like when you have the beaver in there and that meat and that blood, like they rush to get to that bait almost instantly?
Yeah, I mean, what I'll do with a beaver, I guess it's once it's there, and I'll cut a beaver up into 4 or 5 chunks, and I'll put it in a mesh bag, and I'll just hang it up in the air out of reach where they can't get it, just for a scent. I'm not feeding it to them. I'm just using it for the scent. Actually, what I like about the mesh potato bags, when I have the beavers and the maggots and stuff get to it, and they start dropping on the ground, you can actually see underneath the mesh bag where the bears are eating the maggots and digging up the ground. And but I couldn't really say that I'll call it, we'll just say a meat bear versus a bait bear or anything like that being more aggressive. I guess I don't have any experience to that.
Yeah, because there was a couple of guides that I was with in Maine, and those guys were saying like when you start putting beaver carcasses in there, they just lose their mind. Like they get a little bit more aggressive with other bears, and they also when that blood, like as soon as you go there and feed, like they're almost there almost instantaneously to try and get at that bait because they just want it that much more. It's just
Yep. I mean, if I ever do like spike a beaver carcass to a tree or something, it's kind of more so on a new bait. If I put a whole beaver there, and once they rip that beaver off and they drag it off into the woods and eat it, that's it. I don't keep putting beavers out because they found my bait. They got grease all over their paws and they're starting to track that through the woods. They can find their way back to the bait, and they're gonna, in my mind, they're gonna come after those other like high fat and high energy bait that we use, versus a beaver. Beavers, what I look at a beaver is just a smell to get them to the bait at the first of the year, and then once they get that stuff all over their fur and their paws, they start dragging it through the woods, and coons and stuff doing that. It just creates a network of trails. And then once the bear starts showing up, I kind of call it every year. You get your first bear, your bait. He hangs out there for a couple days, and then there was 2, and then there was 3, and then it's just game on after that, right? So
I think one thing you do that's ingenious is the popcorn.
Yep.
Because a lot of people don't realize, unless you bear hunt, is with bigger pieces of bait, a lot of bears can come in, steal a piece of bait, take off, eat it in the woods, come back a half an hour later, grab something, take off, and just do it all night. And it's fun to watch, but you want to watch the show right in front of you. But when you got that popcorn there, they have to sit there and eat it because they're not going to take a piece of popcorn and run off with it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And we use we've kind of learned that over the years, less is more. You don't open up a great big hole so they can tip your barrel over and take everything with them in the woods, right? You just got to make them work for it a little bit more, and then they sit there and lay right down at your bait. And it lasts a lot longer too. So the popcorn and the trail mix and the oats and corn, we've kind of went right to that over the last several years, and it's working out really good.
And frosting. For some reason, they love frosting. I don't know what it is with frosting.
Yeah, I will say last year we harvested over 20 bears, and every single one of them had frosting coming out of their nose.
Did you use a colored frosting?
Yeah, it was like a turquoise blue. It was kind of sad.
You could see it on Dad's bear's nose. He sent me the picture, and I was like, "What's that blue shit?" And Dad's like, "Frosting." What about the grease?
Aruba. It was Aruba blue.
What about the grease gun? You retire that thing, or are you bringing it out?
No, I'll be bringing that out again this year.
You got to see that, Trev. He's spraying grease out of it looks like a fire extinguisher.
That's priceless.
The forest firefighting backpack spray looks good.
The guy that we went with in Maine a couple of years ago, he used pink frosting and he'd put it on the barrels. And so my background's taxidermy, so we would go up there and we would skin all the bears for taxidermy, and I'd have pink frosting from head to toe at the end of the night because it'd be all over the bears. The bears, when we got home to have to skin them out and like tan them, we were like scrubbing these things to get the pink frosting out of their fur. Like, I don't know what every bear had it. Every bear.
I think you should start using white frosting so the hunters go, I got one with the big old white V. No, that's just frosting. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's the first. I'll be honest with you, that's the first thing they go to every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just sit there. We smear it into the bark of the trees and like into the crevices in the bark, and they'll sit there and lick that for hours.
But you make a good point. I mean, when it comes to any kind of grease, the frosting, molasses, any sticky substance like that, man, they get it on their paws, and like you said, wherever they go, they're leaving a scent trail, and then another bear comes through, crosses that scent trail, and you're just making a network of just everything's coming right to that hub of a bait.
Yep, for sure. That's awesome strategy.
Do you have any crazy stories about bear hunters, like just being in like the weirdest situations or scary situations? Like, I know as a guide, right, being a guide, just like you have those one-offs that are like, dude, I cannot believe that person put themselves in that situation. Like, why are we here and why are we doing this right now?
All kinds, really, but at the end of the day, we try and keep everybody safe, but one of the things that stick with you and carry from one week to the next or the next one season to the next is is the biggest thing for us is don't get down out of your stand after you shoot a bear and try and track it yourself into the New Brunswick woods that you've never been in before. Us as guides, we put you in the stand, and we take you out of the stand, and so we've had, I guess the one story when someone asked me that question that jumps out at me is that, we've had a hunter that we go over this in the orientation, and you get excited after you shoot a bear, obviously, and he got down out of the stand and he tracked his bear only 30 yards off in the woods, and it was dead. It's perfect shot, massive blood trail. But what happened was, when he turned around to go back to his stand, he ended up 250 meters way down in the woods. Just walked right by the stand. And so that was a stand that actually had really no service, just a radio. And so I know the guide went in that night, and it was, he shot that bear getting closer to dark. So, we try and pick up all our hunters, within, half an hour after dark, we'll say, at the last hunters being picked up. And he went in there with the flashlight, and he shined his light up in the stand, and there was no hunter there. So that was really scary for the guide. And when he yelled the hunter's name, he just heard a little faint, like, yeah, hello, or whatever, way down the woods. And we went and found him. But what the hunter told us was he knew he was lost, or turned around, however you want to say it. And he found a rock in the middle of the woods, and he said, I'm staying on this rock for the night. He had himself convinced that he was staying there for the night. And but anyways, it all worked out, but I can't stress that enough, because when you're in unfamiliar territory, and again, if the bear is dead, it's dead. It's not going anywhere. So when we come in there to get you, we kind of know the area. We've traversed it all, and that's, I guess, when you ask me a crazy story, that's one of the ones that jump at me. I guess I'll tell you another one that's pretty bad. We had a hunter shoot 2 bears in one evening. You are allowed to shoot 2 bears in New Brunswick, but you have to tag the first one. And we had a hunter shoot 2 bears by accident. And what happened was, he shot the first bear and it ran off. And he got us on the radio. And on our way in, another bear come in. And he thought it was the same bear coming back to the bait, and he shot that one. And so this was at dark, and we get in there, and the bears weren't around the barrels. We only found a little speck of blood. So, we don't put all our human scent all around our baits and behind, like at night. We'll back out and go back in the morning and track these bears. And I thought about it all night that night when he told me the story, because he told me when he shot the first one, he saw kind of, some guts protruding from the exit hole, and when it ran off into the woods. And then I started thinking about his story about when that second bear came in, and he said it looked like it was limping. I was like, that sounds like a boar just doing his strutting his stuff, coming into a bait, and thinking that a bear's not going to come back in to eat after he's been shot. So I thought about that all night, and then we go back in the morning. I asked him some more questions, and sure enough, when I got there at the bait site, and I got out of the truck, and I saw a crow take off out of a tree. I was like, I know there's one over there. And walked in. I found that bear right away. It was only 60 yards off in the woods. And I said, where'd the first one run off? And he kind of pointed in the direction. That one wasn't very far either. So I'm standing there with 2 bears dead on the ground. So, I had 3 people there looking at me. What are we going to do? The only thing to do is call DNR. Called DNR, reported myself as an outfitter, and they sent the COs out. And they're really good about it, actually, us reporting that, doing the right thing. They made us drag both bears out. They made me gut and clean both bears and bring them back to the DNR station. And then they ended up seizing the second bear that he shot and letting them tag the first one that he shot, and no fines. So it could have ended a lot differently, but that's, again, you pull the trigger once, and you think you got a hit, you don't need to shoot again. That's another thing.
And people get excited, like
Yep.
it is what it is, but you have to make and go about the right measures. Like if you, if you shot a turkey that didn't have a beard or whatever, you you just take it like a man, take it on the chin, and just call it in and just say, hey, listen, this is an honest mistake. Whatever you want to do with it, you're going to do. And especially you as a guide, you're not going to give up your livelihood. Like, what are you going to do? Like, it's him or you. Like you have, 100 paying customers that are coming in after him. Like, I mean, it is what it is. You didn't do the wrong thing, but you're going to do the right thing now. And that's the most important thing to do, I guess, as a guide, right?
Yeah, that's the moral of the story, and I think there was probably some questions up in the air, like, oh, let's just, the guys, let's just take the biggest one or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't do it. You can't do it in our line of work. It's we could have drug both of those bears out or one out, and there'd be red and blues sitting right there at the truck. Us coming out of the woods, you just never know. So you just, as a guide and as an outfitter, you do the right thing, and you should never have any problems.
Yeah. So with bear hunting being an afternoon thing, what kind of other activities do you do during bear season?
Yeah, so we like our lodge being on Robin Hood Lake. We've actually got great brook trout and landlocked salmon fishing right in the lake in front of the camp. So our typical day, you wake up in the morning, you can sleep in. We don't bear hunt in the morning. Sleep in, get up, and we feed you a big breakfast, and you can go fishing, kayaking, hiking, whatever you want to do. And then we have a big meal at 1:30. That's kind of the dinner, and then we'll put hunters out in the stands 3 to 3:30 in the afternoon. You're there till dark, and that time of year it's dark around 9:30. So when you come back from your hunt, you're soup sandwich buffet type deal. But yeah, that's kind of a typical day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to add in this whole turkey hunting thing too. Like if you are able to draw some tags, you're gonna kind of do a feathers and fur kind of thing where you can turkey hunt in the morning and then bear hunt in the afternoon. Now we're talking good time.
Tim Hortons combo, I'm calling it.
The Tim
Hortons combo, I like it. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a new thing. It's but it's kind of really cool. Our turkey season is May 13th to the 25th. Mm-hmm. We'll say, it's only a 2-week season here, and it overlaps with spring bear. Easier in the south again because of the time of year. So it is exciting, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of work to do it, but we've got plans now. About the turkey hunt in the morning and the bear in the evening. And I think there's a big enough window in between where you can get rested, get fed, and switch gears and get out into the bear stand and still have a good evening hunt. So I'm really looking forward, this year I've got three non-resident turkey tags, to do that, to try and accomplish that. It's kind of a new challenge for me as an outfitter guide, is to put somebody on a bird in the morning and put them on a bear the same day and get a picture with them both in it. Right. So you can't do that anywhere else.
No,
you just can't. And so I think it's really exciting.
No, that's super cool. And as a guide, like that's a grind, dude. Like trying to find the bird. I mean, it's first light, trying to get after them, and then you're up till chasing bears till 10, 11 o'clock at night. I mean, like that's a lot of stress and a lot of time that's putting on to you.
Yeah. And I'll never claim to be any type of turkey expert because I'm not. I'm getting interested in it. I want to learn a lot about it, and I'm just asking questions. But I've got guides that wanted to get into this stuff and wanted to work for us and that are really taking this on as far as the turkey hunting goes. So I'll stick with the bears, and they run the turkey show, and we're just going to combine it and hope for a good hunt.
Hey,
I've heard you call moose before. I think you'll get the turkey call down in no time. You'll be all right.
I'm awful at turkey calling. Yeah, it's not easy.
No, it's just time, man, and like you running around and stuff, it's just putting that call in your mouth and just going to town. But don't try to be, I say it all the time to guys in seminars and stuff, is don't try to be a professional. I mean, if you can't do it, then just grab a call that's easier, if you're not making the right noise, making the right noise, there's no point in doing it, right? Like, so just grab a pot call, grab a box call. Everybody wants to be a mouth read guy, but there's no need for it if there's other calls available to make yourself successful. So
100%.
Yeah. It's the same with moose calling, I guess, right? I mean, like, if you're not making the right noise, why do it at that point?
Yeah.
That's
I've
crazy.
seen him call moose in before. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I wouldn't listen. I seen the pictures, dude. I don't doubt it in any way, shape, or form. That
And that's all natural voice, right? You're not using a moose call.
I use a bunch of, like, I use a cow call with my mouth, and a bull grunt. I'll use when I'm doing the bull grunt, I sometimes will use one of my resin horns, just to get a little bit of an echo.
Like an amp horn.
Yeah.
Can you give us a run? Can you give us a good run?
A good run, a moose calling?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
I love it.
What do you want to hear first?
Oh, just give us the whole lowdown, dude. Start it from the beginning.
Paint us a picture.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, what I do, I wish I had my calls with me, but I act like both a cow and a bull, because that time of year there's a lot of back and forth going on between bulls and cows, and I kind of start off with a cow call in the morning, and then I'll walk 50, 60 yards and I'll start acting like a bull and raking the trees and grunt a little bit. I'm a really aggressive caller. Some people say, "Oh, you got to be quiet. You got to be quiet." Moose aren't quiet. They're really loud, and they don't walk quiet when they're in the woods. They break branches. They when they're calling, they're loud. You can hear them coming for 400 or 500 yards away. And so I'm pretty aggressive. I'll just go back and forth until I get an answer and just move down wherever I'm hunting. And in the morning I'll try and sound like a cow, just kind of getting up out of a bed, and doing a couple little whines, just and just not that big long bellowing call, and then walk down the road and do the thrashing. Once you start thrashing, that usually, if there's a bull in the area, that gets them going. They're territorial, and you bull grunt, and when you hear that, they start coming. You just do what the bull does. The bull rakes, he grunts, you grunt. If he rakes, you rake. And then they'll just bring them right to you. We shoot a lot of moose at 10, 15 yards. And so that's the challenge for me, is I try and get people as close as I can to a moose. It's way more exciting. I know last fall we shot the bull the second morning, and the hunter on his third shot was running away from the moose. That's how close it was. And I was actually getting nervous, and I didn't know where to go. And when he shot that moose, it kind of ran right at me and started flipping down and landed right basically at my feet. I was hiding behind a little small pile of bushes, and so it was awesome. And we have a lot of moose hunting stories like that, and that is my ultimate favorite hunt, is moose hunting.
Yeah.
Sure. But again,
I don't know if it's from being young kid and dad always bringing me to Canada to bear hunt or whatever, but I've always had a fascination with moose. And I know elk's like the mecca. Everybody wants to go west and chase elk, but there's something about that Northwoods moose hunt at 10 yards that just
hands down.
Yeah,
hands down. And it's funny, Brian, is that you kind of just walk through a scenario of turkey hunting, because it's literally one and the same, man. Like if that bird gobbles, you just give. When he howls again, you just, it's just that you understand the interaction in a moose. Right. It's the same as a turkey. It's just that when it pops out, it's 22 pounds, not 2,200. I mean, that's the only difference, right?
Oh, I was thinking the same thing when he said, when he hears the bull, you just duplicate what he does. And it's the same thing. If you have an interaction with a hen, however, if she wants to be aggressive, you be aggressive back to her. If she's mellow, you're mellow, and you can just play that game.
And I think a lot of guys lose that aspect of it, where probably with moose hunting too, is that, like, a lot of the times, dude, you're calling to that hen. Like, if that hen is a boss hen, man, you got to be a boss hen too. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she cuts, you cut. You're trying to overpower her, just like you are with moose hunting with a bull moose. If he's raking, you're raking, so you got to kind of you're just building that full circle all the way down the pipe. So it's one and the same. Any interaction calling with an animal is just incredible as it is. But when a 2,000-pound moose steps out the bush, I guess it would be a totally different ball game.
Yeah, and that's what there's a couple different ways to get a moose in New Brunswick. And being a 5-day season, we have a lot of woods roads. We're a forestry province. There's a lot of woods roads, a lot of clear cuts, and moose they're not afraid of anything. They don't mind standing out in the middle of a big clear cut. If there's food out there, they don't care. And so there's a lot of moose that just get dumped and driving, I call them Detroit drive-by shootings. and and there's nothing wrong with that. I've done it on like the last day, like Hail Mary. But I'll go right into the thick stuff, right at the beginning of the season. I'll call where you can't see 50 yards, and people call me crazy, but I'm 25 for 25 on moose hunts, doing it mostly that way. And there's nothing more exciting that if you can get in there right with them and interact with them, because like I said, moose aren't scared. If you get a bull pissed off and he rolls his eyes back in his head, he's going to come and run you over. And he doesn't care about smell at that point. He's just ready to fight.
He's got one thing on his mind.
Is there a lot of take me through like the pre-hunt, like scouting for moose? I would imagine it's again similar to turkey. Are you out a week or two before that 5 days locating bulls and dropping pins, so opening day you can go here, hunt this moose. If that don't pan out, there's another one up the road and another cut, and you can just kind of chase pins around and trying to find one?
Yeah, I always have backup for backups, and but I start scouting for moose as soon as bear season's over in the spring, July. I get mineral sites out. I don't necessarily hunt over my mineral sites or salt licks or anything like that. I like getting out there and getting pictures and seeing what's in the area. It all changes come September. September, once September comes, the second week of September comes around, then I start looking for sign where bulls are setting up their territory, raking trees, walking down roads and just smashing alder bushes and stuff like that. And then I kind of follow the cows all summer, because the cows don't necessarily change a lot of their ranges. The bulls are going to come to them, right? And but if you start finding roads that are all tore up and stuff like that, you'll find branches and leaves all over the road where they're hooking, and that's where it's a pretty good spot to start, anyways. And I always really don't decide where I'm hunting opening morning, probably until the weekend before, even Sunday before Tuesday. I have my say 5 spots, and I don't necessarily have to see what's there, like see the animal. I don't want to see the bull until Tuesday, but I know what I guess once you find, I start to look for a piss hole, what we call a wallow or a piss hole. Mm-hmm. If you find one of those on Sunday or Monday, you hunt that on Tuesday, and if you find a fresh one, you're golden.
Do you run trail cameras and stuff too to try and find out where they are?
Yeah, we do. But it's mostly just for pictures,
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. Out of all the moose hunts that I've been on, all the moose that I've shot, I'm going to say one of them I've had on camera.
Wow.
And I've had monster bulls on camera and stuff, and get all excited thinking that you're going to get that bull, but I've come to realize you're not going to see him again. And they just have that big wide range, and they do what they want to do. But you get in the right areas, you're probably going to shoot a bull that you've never seen on camera. And we shot a bull 2 years ago that was, I had a camera set up there all season, had a bunch of bulls, and opening morning I was like, oh, we're probably going to get one of these guys. And we went in there and called, daylight was 6:50, and we shot a bull at 7:15. I never had him on camera. And we shot that thing, I'm going to say 60, 70 yards from the camera.
Wow. Now that last week of September, is that prime rut? Is it still pre-rut, or is it, right in the heart of it?
I'd say it's right in the heart of it. Now, people could argue that it rolls into October and things like that. And I'm sure it does. Like, I'm sure that the breeding activity runs into October. But I think as far as the rut goes, the calves are born the same time every year, so they're doing what they do the same time every year. And so I find, as long as you don't get the high winds and the heavy rains and you get aim for 0 to 4 degrees in the morning Celsius, by the way, that
get on the calculator.
But you get that, if you get that frost during moose season, she's game over.
I love it, man. I'm all pumped up to see the video of Stevie up there with Mark. That's gonna be good. The big moose hunt, dude. That's awesome. That's gonna be a blast. I can't wait to see it.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun.
Either Brian kills Steve or Steve comes home alive. One of the two. No, just kidding.
We'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Better have quiet feet. You better not be kicking rocks.
Oh, no, he's
No,
quiet.
I'm like a ninja.
A ninja, a straight ninja. Well, Brian, I got one last question for you, man. And we ask everybody this, and we want to know what drives you outdoors.
Yeah, no, great question. I would say now I'm working for my hunters, and I just love, I guess, the challenge of trying to do better than I did the year before, in the sense of being a guide and an outfitter, and just trying to find that next trophy that we're going to chase. Fishing and stuff like that is, I'd say fishing is down the list for me a little bit, but we still enjoy it. But as far as that goes, it's just simply trying to do better than what I did the year before. Before it was, growing up and stuff, like I said, I raised on running up brooks and fishing and hunting and stuff like that. But now this is my passion as far as being a guide and an outfitter, and just trying and seeing other people, harvest a trophy animal of a lifetime, we'll say, or something that they've never done before, or, trying to beat, I have a lot of repeat customers trying to beat what they did before. That's what drives me. And, I'm really enjoying it.
It's the life of a guide is a tough life, right? Because you have to put yourself second and everybody else first. And it's a tough thing to grasp at first, right? Because you kind of take away from your own seasons to try and see people succeed, but there's certain guides that they have it in them, that it's really, truly, honestly about helping somebody else succeed, helping them teach, and really learn the ways of teaching properly for other people to have success, man. And it takes a real strong person to put themselves aside, especially someone that, like yourself, that grew up, hunting and fishing, and like you're not putting as many on the wall as you were before to kind of make sure then watch somebody else succeed. So that's a tough thing. It really is, but a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Brian, can you tell everyone where they can find you, man? Maybe check out your website, look at your rates, kind of, if they're thinking about coming to New Brunswick or kind of follow along.
Do you have any openings still for this spring, or are you booking for 2025 now?
Yeah, we're booked solid for spring this year for bear and moose. I mean, I'll always entertain, a week of fall bear hunting in September, like the first week of September. I find the first week of September is still really good bear on baits, but once you start getting a bunch of, traffic and stuff like that in the woods, I find it gets a little bit tougher. But anyways, yeah, we're booked for spring. Next year we're booking. But I guess as website goes, williamsoutfitters.ca. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Williams Woods and Water Outfitters.
Awesome. I'll post the links below here, man. But, Brian, we really appreciate you jumping on. Looking forward. Steve's going to come up and visit you and take some videos and stuff, and we'll share those on our channels. And it was great talking to you. Thanks for taking the time with us here on a Friday night. And for everyone else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.